Heyo everybody! Last year I didn't do this, and I kicked myself for it. So this year, I'm doing it. A top 10 favorite movies of the year, numbered list. Now, I didn't watch every movie that came out this year. There were some I just wasn't that interested in. And there were also some that I couldn't possibly have watched because they weren't showing anywhere near me and aren't on streaming yet. And on that note, if there was a movie that came out last year but only in festivals, and then this year it got a wider release, I sometimes counted those movies as 2022 releases. And no matter how you feel about any of the movies in this list, you can't say that I'm wrong, because I'm not claiming that these are the best movies of the entire year. I'm only claiming that these are the movies I enjoyed the most. So, step right in, find a seat, and one last thing before we get cracking. Any footage that I show in this video will strictly be from trailers, and I'll be avoiding any major plot details because my goal isn't to spoil the movies for you, but actually encourage you to check them out. Anywho, 3, 2, 1, lift off.
Oh, it's like a movie, but nobody has any lines, and nobody even knows what it is while they're making it.
Somewhere between Paddington and a Charlie Kaufman film, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On steps forward as one of the cutest and most endearing films of 2022. The movie is the result of a 7-years-long passion project through multiple production companies, and even by A24 standards, Marcel the Shell feels extra independent and unique. The dialogue is always sweet, and it's often quite insightful too, making it a really fun and surprising family film. Open-mouthed, the baby god, immense, bald though baby-headed, cried out for the mother's dug. The dry volcanoes cracked and split, sand abraded the milkless lip. Cried then for the father's blood, who set wasp, wolf, and shark to work, engineered the gannet's beak. Dry-eyed, the inveterate patriarch raised his men of skin and bone, barbs on the crown of gilded wire, thorns on the bloody rose stem. I Want, by Sylvia Plath.
Let's play a game. Tell me something you don't want me to know.
I hate this.
Okay.
Fresh is the first feature-length film from director Mimi Cave, and it is such a strong debut. The premise is barely masked by the title and the promotional imagery, but in lieu of stating outright what actually happens in the movie, I'll just throw out the warning that this film goes the distance whenever it comes to creating an experience that is often disturbing and depraved. But so crucially, the movie also maintains this sense of fun and humor that keeps the experience from feeling stale. There's attention to detail with framing and foreshadowing that rewards attentive viewing, and the editing is top-notch. Wicked cuts and transitions that slice and dice through the runtime. With a phenomenal first act and an ending that kept me thoroughly engaged, Fresh was one of the most fun surprises of the year. A story of a dysfunctional family, a girl, and her giant egg. Hatching is a Finnish fantasy horror coming-of-age monstrosity with airtight pacing, a curious premise that keeps on going places, and stellar lead performances. You can enjoy the movie as simply an oddball, what's gonna happen next kind of weird flick. But there's also enough here that you can also dig in and dive into themes and interpretations. I legitimately think that in a year full of great horror movies, Hatching got a bit slept on and overshadowed. If Hatching was in English, maybe it would have been discussed more actively. I'm not sure. But it's on Hulu, so if you have that, you should check it out. It's good, and it's weird. RRR is what I imagine you get when a director and film crew look at a script and say, yeah, let's make everything as rad as possible. This is a maximalist epic for the ages. It's the story of two Chad bros united by a common destiny, full of love and betrayal, all set in a time of political turmoil. It's straight up Shakespeare with explosive action scenes. In combat, there's this real sense of physicality and brutality. So much so that it's like every move is a finishing move. The contrast, the lighting, the way the CG looks, the choreography, it all combines to make the film feel unreal. The snappy editing gives an immediacy to moments, where sick music drops get synchronized to motion with precision, and where action scenes can feel more anime than anime. While the 3-hour runtime can feel a bit long at points, I'm not going to remember RRR for the slow parts. I'm going to remember RRR as the movie that did everything for the sake of cool, and proclaimed that subtlety is for cowards.
Well, it wasn't me little donkey's shite, it was me pony's shite, which shows how much you were listening.
The premise is slightly absurd. A man finds out, randomly out of the blue one day, that his friend no longer likes him and doesn't want to talk to him anymore. Colin Farrell is the confused, rejected friend, and Brendan Gleeson is that man who just wants to be left alone. What begins with offbeat humor soon invites audience curiosity. Why on earth is this man cutting out his friend like this? And why is Colin Farrell's character reacting so desperately to the situation? And as you watch, you may catch a pulse of this movie's real power, as the Banshees of Inisherin becomes a legitimately thought-provoking and subtle narrative. It's shot on location in Ireland, to gorgeous effect, especially with the lighting. The performances are great, not just from leads Farrell and Gleeson, but also from supporting actors Kerry Condon and Barry Keoghan. When the credits ended, the curtain fell, and I walked out of the theater and into the cold Midwestern winter air, I felt something mystical and hard to describe. And the Banshees of Inisherin stayed on my mind for days after.
C'est quoi?
C'est mes trucs d'enfant. Elle avait tout gardé.
C'était pas la reine de l'orthographe.
Celine Sciamma is one of my favorite directors. Tomboy, Water Lilies, and, yes, Portrait of a Lady on Fire are all films I have found captivating. And her latest, quiet, mystical little film is Petite Maman, the story of an 8-year-old girl, a fort in the woods, and an important bond. Petite Maman is so perfectly understated. There isn't any excess or flashy tricks, just sharp editing, perfect pacing, and some of the best natural lighting and shot composition of the year. It's effective filmmaking, and it's confident filmmaking, all from someone who really knows how to tell emotional stories that are just brimming with wonder and discovery.
No. Mustn't do that. Forbidden fruit.
Oh, God, sorry,
I'm joking.
While it's not controversial for me to say that I really liked Ex Machina and Annihilation, Alex Garland's latest film, Men, has proven to be quite divisive. Not because the movie is feminist, but because many wanted more from the script. The movie is unsubtly titled Men, in big, bold red letters. Many of the film's messages can feel played out by now, and it is yet another one-word A24 film where a character's personal journey is an allegory for some kind of social evil. To boil this film down to the bones, I'd say it's about how men exert power and control over women, generationally and cyclically, and the way this control permeates throughout the stories we tell and the history of our world. And for a lot of people, male director Alex Garland and his crew are not saying anything all that new. But I love this movie. Men is like an hour and a half of slow burn background buildup that unhinges at the end into an absolutely revolting and challenging last 30-ish minutes, because when this film goes for it, it goes hard. The two central performances are fantastic, and it's a gorgeous film to look at. This is a movie that stares at you from a place of ambiguity and is absolutely beckoning for multiple rewatches, if you can stomach them. While the themes and ideas in the movie aren't all new, the way they are presented is really effective for me personally. Men is a film that rips open all the old wounds and lets the blood soak into the earth, with an ending that doesn't give you answers, but instead gives you questions. Men is cryptic and brutal.
Hey,
am Puss in Boots.
No, I really did not expect the Puss in Boots sequel to a spin-off from 11 years ago to land this high on my list. But if you're not already on the Puss in Boots hype train, I gotta tell you, this might be the best animated movie of 2022, one of the best animated movies from DreamWorks in the past 10 years, and I think I might even like it more than the first two Shrek movies. Stylistically, it's like it was taking notes from Into the Spider-Verse and The Mitchells vs. the Machines, using that gorgeous, stylized 2D CG fusion that is a bit more storybook-y and adds so much color and texture. Everything is brimming with energy during action, including some creative uses of dropping the frame rate to emphasize the weight and momentum in movement. And when it comes to the story, this isn't a cash grab banking on nostalgia or fluff. The Last Wish is a character study of a legendary hero grappling with his own mortality and what he values most. It can get surprisingly serious and mature. Even the characters who I expected to be annoying or too silly ended up having nuance and weight in the narrative. If you like animation, and this is still showing somewhere near you, I really encourage you to go out and see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in theaters. Before I unveil my number one favorite movie of 2022, here are some notable mentions. Movies that I thought were all at least pretty good, even if they didn't crack my personal top 10. Glimpses of a teen slipping into distorted danger on the internet. We're all going to the World's Fair. A cowboy survival story about the threat of untamed nature. Nope. Samara Weaving is out there killing it yet again in a genuinely feel-good drama comedy about class, connections, and people getting what they deserve. The Valet. Small cast, solid performances, in an evolving mystery that keeps ramping up the tension and intrigue. No Exit. I think you already know what this is, and yeah, it's good. The Batman. And that just leaves number one. My favorite movie of 2022. 2 years ago, I challenged myself to watch more new releases than I ever had before. And by the end, I reached 170 new releases in 2021. For me, that's a lot. I gave my favorite movie of that year, The Last Duel, a 4.5 out of 5, or a 9 out of 10. Out of those 170 new releases, there wasn't a single movie I gave a perfect score to. But in 2022, I did watch a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 movie. When in April, I saw in theaters Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is one of the most thematically resonant and intricate scripts I've encountered in a movie. There's so many background details and so much to chew on that I really feel like I'm being invited to view this over and over again and keep showing it to more people as an excuse to keep watching it. Originally, the trailer didn't even sell me, because I thought the movie was going to be very silly and inconsequential. What I never expected is that while this movie can be very silly, Everything Everywhere All at Once also is an event like the end of Evangelion. It's like if you slammed Madoka Magica and Qualia the Purple into Weird Al Yankovic's Dare to Be Stupid, and it's freaking brilliant. Everything Everywhere All at Once so fiercely resonates with me, and there's plenty of good reasons why it's resonated with so many other people too. This movie can be emotional in a way that feels not manipulative, but sincere and genuinely important, especially in regards to the darkness and mental state that many young people today are facing. Every emotional journey, every weighty concept brought forth feels so earned and balanced out by an awareness and acknowledgement of the counterpoints. If you love art and big concept storytelling, I'd say check it out. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is something rare and honestly special. Before I put this parachute on you and give you a nice little boot out the plane window, I just want to say this. If anyone tells you that they don't make good movies anymore, that movies nowadays are trash, I think they probably aren't really looking. Because between theaters and streaming services this year, 2022 had some really good movies. And I think it'd be just groovy if you shared in the comments what your favorite films were this year. Did you love any of the same ones that were on my list? Or did I miss including your favorite? In the video description, I dropped a link to the full ranking of the 80 movies I watched this year. And now I'm going to drop you out of this plane. Remember to like, share, and subscribe!